cash, they just get trips to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So does anybody know how many of them there are in the?
Yeah, Janet does, and there's
She's
way
got
more than you
this,
think.
yeah.
Because about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, she compiled a list and talked about Vanguard, and there was more than you think.
Yeah.
Well, as far as portfolios go, Laura is my portfolio, and she's a very, very good employee. Can't find out much better. The fair board is kind of stagnant over the winter at this point. I did reach out to Oliver last night, and he had a rough day yesterday.
Oh, really?
His court case was awarded, the defendant was not guilty, and he spent, but the problem was, he inherited that case, and he wasn't around when it got investigated and all that stuff. And so I visited with him a long time, and I told him, I said, it's not your fault. But I said, did you learn something? He says, definitely. I learned that when any of this stuff happens, I have to be, have to really watch the thing. So he's very concerned and very diligent in what he's doing. And he said, I hope the public doesn't feel, I said, no, Oliver, that's not your fault.
Winning and losing is all part of the ball.
Right. I said, this one's definitely not your fault. I said, you had to go to bat, and I said you did. So I thanked him for that.
Very good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take off.
Okay, anything else on here you need?
No, I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good.
see ya.
Thank you guys for allowing me to go. My wife has finally got an appointment where a dermatologist, she has some facial things once in a while, they freeze for her. And her other one retired. And it took 1.5 years to get an appointment.
Yeah,
Dermatologists are tougher to, you
So-
could run for Congress and win easier than getting into a dermatologist.
So that's why I'm taking off.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see you guys.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Okay, those county boards and departments we talked about, Brian, you should probably hear this.
Okay.
We visited with Dan, each one of those, we should invite in
Yes.
a different one each month, and they can explain their budget and answer a
good.
lot of questions. Plus, it would be a good line of communication with us, with them.
Very, very good.
Okay?
We probably need to, with on that line, we probably need to ask these departments for their financial parts too.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what
Okay,
we're talking
that isn't on here, okay,
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
okay, to show their,
Well, then they can explain what they are too.
Yeah.
Because, I think Brian's there's a big misunderstanding.
yeah, with the water board. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we know that.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll get that straightened out when
When they-
When
they prioritize. Right.
Anything to add to that, Dan?
so I want to be clear what we're trying to accomplish here.
Well,
You
don't
know,
ask
and-
us.
No, part of that was having Laura here today.
Yes.
Right.
And, I'd like to have the health department here. I'd like to have the weed board here. I'd like to have the water board here. I'd like to have JDA back. I'd like, but I also want to mix in her office
Yeah.
or social services, or that could come in and just, in layman's terms, give you a greater understanding of what they do. Now, a couple of you sit on the health district, you
Right.
sit on social services. I'm guessing you're getting an education.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking that's a
Big time.
very good idea. In fact, we talked about this. Here, what is a year or so ago, we had JD8 come in here. You're on that, but I had no idea that there's rules that they have to follow that I didn't know about.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. We could probably get a department head and a committee one on the same month.
Yeah,
maybe.
and there's 12 months in a year, obviously, so I don't know that, I suppose if you took all of the different boards and departments, you'd come up with about a dozen, so it'd be about one a month. Is that frequent enough? Does that get you what you want?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it opens up some communication that we don't have.
That you can talk about during the whole year.
Well, and even if you know what that department does, there's always changes
Yeah,
within that
absolutely.
department that we aren't aware of.
Just get updates.
Yeah, you get updates.
Just like all the stuff that Laura, what they have to go through it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I didn't even ask her, but I'm sure there's people that now, if they pay their taxes late, she had to do the interest and all that, but now they pay a portion of their taxes I'll pay $100 a month. Ah, and that happens,
They
right?
can do that?
Oh,
You
yeah.
absolutely can, but you're gonna pay penalties and interest.
But she's gotta keep track of all
You
that.
gotta keep track of it.
Ah.
And when any one person doesn't follow the rules, you have no idea how much work that creates for the employees in your courthouse.
Right, oh, yeah.
And I'm not gonna pick on you here, but okay, last month, I believe it was last month, we approved 2 abatements. Okay? Now, I'm not a huge believer in this, but I'm gonna leave my opinion out of this. When you approve that, not only does that change every political subdivision's
Oh, yeah.
resources, but we went back in time. That has to be over and done with, okay? If it took you 2 years to muster up the courage to fill out the paperwork and come in here and meet with the commission, that's your own fault. We should never go back in
No,
time.
I know.
Because if you think it caused a cluster for 2025, you can only imagine what it did to go back and fix 2024 or 2023.
I know.
3 years
That is
back,
a
right?
lot of work. 3 years back.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And, okay, so Mr. Wolbert made a deal with whomever to buy those places, and he got a discount based on changing the taxes. How does Wells County get thrown under the bus with this deal? Because the city of Harvey, Wells County, the Harvey Ambulance District, the Harvey School District, right on down the line, they're all taking a bath because of this. Okay, and when you drop that, it was basically $500,000. That's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
It
big
is.
deal. So,
That's right.
But there's 2 sides of that too.
well, yeah,
We want that place to open up and probably would.
we absolutely do. But I can see, given the abatement in the current tax year,
Right.
I have no sympathy for you in what happened before.
Backing up.
Con Ziegler, you should have came
Yep.
a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yep, that was the one I was really reluctant
Yeah.
about. And I agree with the current one, but to go 3 years back, that was,
Yeah.
but there too, we can blame the city of Harvey for that.
Yeah.
But we could have changed it, I guess.
Are we up to legislative priorities?
I gotta
Yep.
do this.
No.
Yes?
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the deal, you guys, I made a copy of this. It was in the Fargo Forum today. We'll pass it around. Here's one thing they're kicking around. They started yesterday. They're kicking around the idea of helping counties lower their spending. Okay? What the heck? Where are we gonna cut and they're gonna look good for it? Dan, this is in the Fargo paper today.
Well, and you know, we've got lots of folks and heck, nobody likes paying their taxes. So they keep talking at the legislative level about how property tax reform is gonna happen,
Yeah,
okay? There's a wonderful article about this. We pay virtually nothing in income tax. So use your head, do the math. What do you think you're going to pay? Okay, if we paid any level of income tax, property taxes would not be as high as they
all
are.
right.
But there is nothing else. You've got sales tax and property tax. That's it. One goes to the state, one goes to the local. That's all you have. Okay, property tax reform, unless you can figure out, legislators, how to make fuel less expensive, how can you make employees less expensive, how can you make equipment less expensive? I don't know what you're trying to reform.
Yeah.
Are you gonna
Well-
put, you talk about putting caps on property taxes, there already is caps on property taxes. You can't just levy whatever you want.
And it goes back to, okay, you wanna lower that, what are you gonna cut? What are you gonna cut?
Sorry about that.
And the idea, that just upsets me, the idea is we're gonna help counties lower their cut. What, so we cut stuff here, make them look good or what?
How do you lower it? Okay,
Exactly.
Again,
And what?
are you gonna make things artificially less expensive for the county?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, you can lower it, you would decrease services. and
Well,
nobody
that's the
wants
other
that.
thing, what are you gonna take away?
Well,
But if you learned anything from your 9 meetings
I know.
with your
They don't wanna
townships,
do
is
that.
they don't want their services decreased.
no.
You're trying to charge them and they're gonna be on your rear for, how many times are you gonna blade now?
Our
Well-
fire department doesn't want to cut back, or.
No,
there's
anything
none
else
of
either.
those. Our road department, we're struggling already, we gonna cut
Mhm.
back more on that, what, you know? So anyway, I guess another idea I wanna throw out with this on here is, we've got 3 local legislators. And this particular year, I think we need to keep an eye on some of these things that come up, and we need to do our diligence of visiting with them.
What's the thing you talked about a little bit ago?
Well, you said I talked too much.
Well, but you brought it up, it was a good, it was a good topic.
Oh,
What was it?
It'd be nice now, huh?
Yeah. Well,
now
I
you
just,
back it up.
we're just trying to, we're gonna talk about the now we can, there's something going on in Bismarck that we could lobby.
Oh, the Association of Counties. Is that what
No,
you're
what?
No, he was,
Oh, increasing truck regulatory,
Oh.
instead of trying to find one ourselves, increase the
So it wasn't
state's
on us.
pool.
so we
That
didn't
would
get
be,
blamed on
that
us.
would be one.
Yeah, that would be one a guy you could get
talking about?
on.
Sure, you know what they're gonna say, they'll throw it right back at us, you take care of that.
Well,
You gotta start somewhere though.
you gotta try.
And that's
Right.
that's I guess what I'm saying, is we need to have a dialogue with our local guys.
Well, and then along Doc's line, we talked a little bit about this earlier, that we tend to never endorse and be political as a group. However, can we as a group come to a consensus about a particular issue and bring it to them? In other words, I'll give you an example. I know John Nelson, I'm gonna email him and say, I really think that you should do this. Do I say it as Stan Buxa, or do I say it, we as well as county commissioners think that you should support? We typically haven't done that.
No, and I think that's a
That
really
would be
good idea.
right.
I think as a group, we should decide what affects our county, and then that's what we should visit with them.
Right.
So, and I'm just kind of maybe cherry picking different things here, but there's a number of things that are written in the Century Code that I think keep small rural counties from being efficient.
That's right.
Why couldn't, just using this as an example, one sheriff serve 5 counties? The deputies do the work anyway, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, why? Because it says so in some law that was written in 1896. Okay, that's why. Well, let's change that. Same thing with the state's attorney.
Mhm.
There is no reason for that person to be elected. What do you really know about a state's attorney? Unless you're a defendant and you're less than 3% of the population, what do you truly know about the performance of the state's attorney? You don't. You just hope things are going well, and you hopefully get no news is good news, that type of thing.
Well,
But there are antiquated laws all over the books. Those are the kind of things
Yeah.
that, in my estimation, you should be pushing them to change.
that's one. I got a big list.
Well,
How long
there's
you wanna be
all
here?
kinds of stuff. You're gonna get about, well, I'll tell Boone will tell you when to quit. Go.
Okay, so I
But
look
I
at this
gotta-
article here.
Huh?
I look at this article you handed out, okay? And to a person, the legislature says, oh, there's gonna be property tax reform, not just
Yep.
relief.
Yep.
You're just going to arbitrarily take this cap from 60 mils and put it at 57. What have you accomplished? You didn't accomplish
What
anything.
they're gonna do is push it down to us.
Okay, so bottom line is, and it came up earlier when you talked about ag land assessment. Why is it selling for $6,500 an acre and then gets assessed at 900?
Yeah.
I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
You go
in
down to
any other walk
Bismarck
of
and
life.
ask them all the questions.
That was the two things in my eye, if we wanted to promote change or promote anything.
To the legislature.
Right.
Okay.
Change the formula of how they do ag land. That's just asinine. It's not being fair to commercial and residential people,
Right.
is it?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
The second thing I would like them to do is eliminate the property tax estimate that we have to come up with. You just heard from Laura, how many hundreds of thousands
Yeah,
of?
I don't understand why they do that anyway.
Because
Spend
the
that kind of money.
legislature in Bergen wanted it to warn people about what their taxes are gonna be. It creates a lot of work, it creates a big cost, and at the end of the day, does it really accomplish anything? That should be eliminated. Those were two things I had. Well, then the other thing would be, I asked it at coffee the other day, what's your opinion on, and Jana struggles with this, and it's made a little easier, but farm property, primary house exemptions if you're a farmer or a retired farmer. Is that okay? Leave it as is? And here was my point. I brought this up at coffee the other day. I said, what do you think about this? Should it be exempt? So it's okay for a farmer who rents all his land to build it and has 80 acres, you gotta have 80 acres. You actually gotta have 40 acres. You got 80 acres and he builds a $2 million house there, okay? And lives on it 2 years and retires and he never pays property tax on that house. Is that okay? Everybody said, no, that's okay. That's what happens today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you change it?
Well, you lobby to change the rules that all houses should be taxed. I came up with the idea that, the argument that, well, and I'm not picking on you,
No.
but you don't pay on your residence, but your argument would be, I don't pay on my residence because I got these 4 quarters or 6 quarters or 8 quarters of land that I pay property tax on, and that takes care of it. Okay.
That's his share.
That's his share, right? The other end of it is that, okay, Jana suggested, and we talked about this, that you exempt 100,000 or 200,000. So if your house is worth 100,000, you're exempt the first 100,000. But if it's $1 million house, now you're going to be taxed on 900,000. Okay. And here's the point in clearing that up. Poor Jana struggles with that because are you a farmer or aren't you? She's got to go all over the county and decide who a farmer is and who isn't. It's based on your adjusted gross income and how much farm income you have, and every year's different, and people cheat on it, and it's a cluster.
This all started a few years ago in the Langdon area.
Oh yeah, talk to Dick about that.
Stanley Dick.
Oh, he just goes wild.
Bunch of those farmers retired, but they didn't want to go to town and pay the taxes, so they built these $1 million homes on the outskirts, out of town,
On 40 acres.
and not paying any taxes on them.
Oh, yeah.
And they're only getting cash rent from their land. They didn't sell their land, but they are only getting cash rent.
Right? Those are retired guys, probably.
Yeah.
Right, right. So
Yeah, there's a lot of inequality that is going on.
That's the third item I had. Well, and then here's going to be the big issue about lowering property tax. How are we going to pay for it? And that's a legitimate concern. And I agree, property taxes at times should be, there's an inequity there. How is the state going to pay for that? Well, I'll take it from Legacy Battalion. No, that's not really the answer. My take is, and I asked this at coffee, and 8 guys out of 10 agreed to this, raise income tax. Income tax in North Dakota is ridiculously low, and you know how much out-of-state people that have income in North Dakota, how much oil checks that go to California, Arizona, and Florida?
Lots of them.
And they pay a pittance as far as income tax. You raise the income tax to lower property tax. That'd be an offset. They'll never do that. I'm just saying that that's what would be nice to have. Anyway, I'm done, Doc.
No, that's all good stuff. It is what it is right now, and that's the problem. And it
Takes a
goes
lot to
back, yeah,
change,
the big
so.
talk about, yep, we're gonna reform it, but
Well, the devil's always in the
hate-
details.
I'd hate to be the guy to try and figure that out, because right now you get $500, right? Or if you're a property owner, you get $500.
Well, only if you're on your residence.
Right, right. So, yeah, for that part, that could be raised, but that doesn't take care of all the rest of the property stuff.
Correct.
So, I think newspaper guys should figure this out.
So I've got truck regulatory enforcement, I've got ag land assessment, I've got eliminating property tax estimates, rules for state's attorney and sheriff elections and serving multiple counties. If property taxes are capped or assessments are capped, how do political subs pay their bills? What else needs to be in here?
Well, are we on board for, now I'm gonna sound like
Probably
an
put in
old
the
guy.
income tax thing. I mean, yeah, income tax.
Do I want to put fuel tax in here?
Yes, we heard it
Yes.
before for the
Yes.
42nd time.
Every
you know, raise-
every year you've been here, we talk about that fuel tax.
Get to be a broken record.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know, someday, a person isn't gonna know what a broken record is, because there are records anymore. Well, and that's on board. I think the Association of County is on board at promoting the increase in the fuel tax, correct?
Yeah.
Because
There was a bill or a not a bill, a resolution.
Here's
in
the
that
thing,
regard.
everybody you've talked to in the legislature and have been there agrees with you.
Oh,
but they
yeah,
won't
yeah,
do
we
it.
should do that. Well, we're philosophically opposed to raising taxes, so we can't do it.
Of course.
So
Minnesota.
along this line with what we started with, is it possible we're having like departments in and whatever, that occasionally, and I know they'll be busy, but we've got 3 legislators, Nelson, Klein, whatever, could we get them to come to a meeting during this
I can
legislative?
absolutely get them to come to one, but it won't be until the May meeting and beyond.
Right,
Right,
They'll
they'll come now.
They'll
but you know,
absolutely
these things that pop up, that's what we should be visiting with them.
come. So your opportunity to have any kind of influence or impact, obviously, is between now and the end of April.
But after our meetings, we discuss it, we can certainly email
Sure.
them with that.
Well, and a lot of these issues, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because when's the deadline for introducing a bill? It's
It's
ridiculous.
pretty quick.
It's within 2 weeks of when the legislature starts, that
Okay.
your deadline is to, as far as presenting a bill. I don't exactly know what it is, but
Right.
it's
Yeah.
extremely early.
And I text these guys on a regular basis, you know, and when you provide them things that truly make sense, like we had a deal that I reached out to them for, it had to do with my being the auditor and the county superintendent of schools, which was based on an antiquated
Oh, yeah.
law.
Yeah,
Boom, taken care of. They did it. Didn't even ask questions. I said, we'll take care of it.
See, if they aren't aware of that,
and a lot of it, yeah, they aren't.
So it isn't just lay people who don't understand these processes. They don't even know it unless you actually tell them. But to call them up and say, lower my tax bill, I think you're asking for things that are just, you're just not being realistic. But if you come up with an actual proposal,
you gotta be specific.
and I can't wait, I cannot wait to see what their proposals are for
I know,
quote-unquote reform.
I
Because
agree.
it won't be anything new.
Well, isn't there 40-some bills right now presented for property tax reduction alone? So you wanna sort through all that stuff to come up with something that,
Yeah.
you know.
And, okay, fine. It was no different with the elimination, all right, fine, well then tell me where the money is gonna come from.
I suggested to them a few years back at that legislative forum thing, I said, wouldn't it be easier if you guys went to a session every year? How can you project? Because oil fluctuates, everything fluctuates in the state so much. You know what the answer was? Yeah, it would be better, but we've traditionally done it this way, so we're gonna keep doing it this way. You know, ignorance abounds sometimes. It was just,
You know what the definition of insanity is, right? Doing the same thing you've always done and expecting different results.
that's right.
All right, so anything else to add to this list? I text these guys fairly regularly. I'll be happy to text them and just tell them what the list is we
Well,
came
number
up
one,
with.
tell them we don't want it pushed down to us to take care of.
Well, that, and you can suggest that we suggested this, and these are things that we feel could be done and would help us
Our
in
state,
Wells
would help
County.
our state.
Well, it's all about Wells County, really.
Well, but no, it's the whole state.
No, I'm just kidding, no, I know that.
But our priority is the county, you know.
Well, and it would, but it would help the state, right,
Well,
you're right. And Dan has an elegant way and a persuasive way of texting and emailing these guys, so we should really expect results fairly soon after he sends it.
Right.
Um, Yeah, Stan, did you want to bring up meeting room?
Oh, it's not an agenda, but do we want to keep meeting here? I prefer the other spot myself. Number one, Dan's gonna set this up, it's more work. Number two, if we have access then to all the department heads a little easier. If we ever have a question for Renee, she's next door. There are times, like last month, when you knew we were gonna have a big crowd here, we can move it to the courthouse, or the courtroom, and then there'd be room.
If they don't have court.
Well, if they don't have court, but they typically don't on a Tuesday or Thursday. That was, you guys changed it for me that time, it was Wednesday, so it just a suggestion.
Yes, I like it here as long as it works for Dan and everybody else, but.
And Dan has said in the past, you don't, doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter to me.
It's not a big deal.
It's just a shame that way back when they built this courthouse, they didn't allow like a big meeting room or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and it even wouldn't have to be big, just a little bigger than it is now, you know, that's.
And I don't know if you could remodel that by taking the counter out, I don't think you'd gain a whole lot, but you could put seating then or something, you know, but.
No, we can leave it, that was just a suggestion, because it was the beginning of the year, you know, but.
I think this opens it up nice and lets
Well,
everybody
it's good for you to
communicate.
get people coming in.
Yeah.
let all them guys from the water board come.
Wow.
We needed this much room.
You would have to go to the courthouse, or something. I mean, you kind of know that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Then you can go up to the courtroom, because, oh yeah, there's times where you need a lot of
When you
room.
get a big crowd, yeah. You done with that now? Anything else? So, we got, basically, the sixth county meeting is March 12th. Our commission meeting is February 4th, our next one. Anything else?
And that township officers meeting on
Supervisor
Monday, the
meeting.
3rd of March.
3rd
Yep.
of March, yeah.
Is that an all-day?
No,
This
I
is-
think we'll start at 10 and I would guess lunch would be the last thing on that day.
Last year was our big day,
Oh,
big year.
it was last year.
Last
Yeah,
year
yeah,
was
yeah.
our big year with that, this year it'll be a shorter year.
So there'll be less people there yet.
Well,
And
there's lunch. so
You
there'll
do
be-
the best you
See?
can to notify and
I know.
hopefully they come.
And this township meeting thing, I was just gonna put this in there. Richard Lenny quit. That, he's on that township,
He was a state representative.
He's a state representative.
I think Dale Smith took his
Dale
spot.
Schmitz is now that.
Took his spot. I don't know if you guys know that, but
Yeah.
Dale Schmidt, I think, took his spot, as far as I've heard. Because I do talk to Richard Lenny once in a while.
And he had that for quite a few years, right?
Few, yeah, but I should've, I don't remember if I told Brian that or not, so I'll call him.
So what was Dale's position? He was kind of the head of the local
He was,
townships
and
organization?
he was in charge of all the Wells County.
Right.
Now he's a state.
So who's taking that job?
I don't know.
Well,
I
he
haven't
maybe
heard.
still has it. You can have both.
He probably can, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we have to get our ducks in a row